Well, hello everyone, and welcome on board this morning's Sunrise Safari here in South Africa. We're in the Sabi Sands Private Reserve, which is a part of the Greater Kruger National Park, a massive, massive ecosystem that allows animals like the giraffe you've just seen to wander and roam many, many hundreds of kilometers in a completely natural ecosystem. So in a very fortunate place, we're here on Djuma and Arathusa private reserves, and really looking forward to this morning's adventure. Completely natural ecosystem. But in finding these lions as soon as possible. Hesitant or reluctant to drive quickly, because the faster we drive, it gets considerable. And he's taken head into, and we're probably only about 5 minutes away from the potential action. Oh. Much, and even though we may have plans, they very often change, as they just have now. And you've noticed I've just done a U-turn and taken you back in the direction we've just come from. And the reason for that is the lion are heading. Is quite a strong likelihood that they would have crossed out of our property, and because he is doing such a good job tracking them all on his own, I don't think he needs our help. So we are going to, rather than concentrate in one area, try and divide and conquer. And I did hear some hyena audio from the hyena den site, which we are so fortunate to be able to view and see, and there's a new addition to the hyena clan. So let's head on down there and maybe we'll get lucky with them. I haven't been there for a few days, and I've only seen a tiny little black cub, maybe 2 or 3 weeks old, only 2 times. So it'll be great to see him again. A lot of you would have seen that little cub many more times than I have with the other presenters. And I must just correct myself. I said it was a male, but it could very well be a female. We are not sure. It's very difficult to tell the gender of hyenas, especially when they're very young. Well, Brent is very eager to get you all on board with his vehicle with the lion tracking. So enjoy, and I hope you guys find the lion with Brent. If not, hopefully we would have found the hyena in a few minutes. We'll keep you posted.
Good morning and welcome on this live African safari. My name's Brent. I'm going to be your guide, and I have Vim on camera, and I'm sure Scott has done the rest of the introductions. So we're busy tracking the Nkahuma Pride of Lions. Unfortunately, at the moment, their tracks are heading towards our northern boundary. I just got a report over the radio that there was lion audio somewhere to the north. So I was just trying to listen whether it was possibly males or it was the pride itself. So the last tracks I had were probably about 200 meters behind me, and they were heading into this block here. So we're going to scoot ahead and see if they cross the road. So for those of you who are regular viewers, welcome. Always great to have you on the back of the vehicle with us. And if there are any newer viewers, really a warm welcome from a very cold Djuma private game reserve this morning. Also, we are interactive, so you can ask us questions about what we're seeing in the bush, or just any questions you might have wondered about the African bush. So we're going to continue on. Hopefully, we manage to catch up with these lions. If not, there's so much interesting stuff to see out here. And you never know what's around the next corner. As yesterday's Sunrise Safari proved, we followed the tracks of the Nkuhuma Pride out of our property, and they did a big loop and came back in. So if they do go out, hopefully they do that again on this Sunrise Safari. Let's go find some lions. So if you want to ask us those questions, you can use an email address. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. I love getting out really early in the morning on tracks. It's sort of reading what's happened over the night. You can see who's been around, what's been around, if they've chased something. The last tracks we had were moving on behind a herd of buffalo bull tracks. So we did see them yesterday make 2 attempts at chasing buffalo. So maybe they made a third, and maybe they're successful. Only time will tell now. But how would I move through the bush? And so we'll try leapfrog in front of where the tracks might come out, and that it makes it a little bit easier and sometimes a lot quicker for us to find the animals. And for those of you who are new, you'll see my head off the side of the vehicle quite often, and that's me looking for tracks. Hyena has just arrived, the one that you can see standing up. The female of the newborn cub, but hard to say. Oh, look at this. Now you would have noticed how that youngster managed to chase off a hyena of a much larger size. They've got very interesting hierarchy. And that could be a young female, a future queen that has just chased off a much larger male potentially, or a subordinate female. And scavenge alone. And you seldom see them moving in clans, so that's why we can see them all reaffirming bonds. And as they come closer to the vehicles, which they do, it may be difficult to film, so there's nothing we can do about that. But isn't it wonderful how relaxed they are with our presence? And we are merely spectators having such a tiny impact on their daily ongoings, which for me is a huge, huge privilege to be allowed to view them in and around their home, which is in a termite mound off to our right. And you can certainly see that some members of this clan have to act very submissively towards others. Where's the other one gone, Brian? Is it in front of the bonnet? Well, you see,
Right
again,
there.
you may just see its ears poking off, and it can be a bit awkward to film. But we will take these chances to get you very close-up views of them. But as you can see, this one has completely disappeared. Well, I think it just popped out there now, so it's moving back to the rest of the clan. I'm just gonna try and keep a close eye on around the termite mound. We're not sure how many members are in this actual clan. It's very hard to keep track of. But there is one up at the entrance to the burrow of where the tiny cub stays. I don't think it's the adult of that cub, and it may merely be wanting to say hello to the new addition. The one that I think is the mother of the cub is the one that's grooming the one lying down. And
and she could very well head to her little cub shortly, call it out of the den, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see it playing around and nursing. Well, you may have noticed a pink tinge on the hyena that is lying down. You'll also notice that her belly is quite swollen. And what that tells me is that she was possibly successful last night in either hunting or scavenging a meal. And now her cub is enjoying the bounty of her success and being allowed to nurse. And they do nurse for very long periods of time, much longer than lion and leopard and most other predators. Okay, we do move up to the other entrance burrow because, as I assumed, it could be the mother there, and I think she's trying to call out her cub. So let's not miss anything. We'll try and get you into a good spot. It's tricky, there's a bush right in the entrance to that burrow, so we'll try and find a good spot. Oh, well, interestingly, two of the medium-sized cubs have popped out of that hole, and you'll see them now. There's a flurry of excitement off to our right. And again, notice how those two youngsters were almost bullying a considerably larger clan member than them. And again, this is testament to their complex hierarchy and even how youngsters may overpower older and bigger members of the clan. Now I wonder if those two slightly smaller cubs that we've just seen come out of their burrow were actually... Oh, look, Brent, sorry. Brian, I'm getting so excited, I don't know which name to call him. But they were, in fact, in the same den as this little cub. In the same burrow. So maybe they were all snuggled up there, keeping warm. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to creep forward a meter or two. In the hope that it may poke its head out again. I think this is going to be our safest bet. Like I said, it's tricky because of this small bush growing right in front of the burrow. And let's see if it comes out again. I got so excited there, I didn't know whether to call Brian Brent or Brian or Byron. And you would have got a very brief glimpse of that charcoal black head. Well, we wait for a bit more action here, because they all are on the other side of the bushes. Rather than repositioning the vehicle, there's something else that I would like to show you that's happening off to the east. Enjoy. So the sun is just popping up over the eastern horizon, and I am really looking forward to its warm rays to reach us. Because like I said earlier, it is a crisp and cold morning here. Beautiful. During the dry and dusty winters, we often get spoiled with some incredible sunrises and sunsets. And we try as much as possible to show you not only the animals, but also the beautiful scenery that we are exposed to here on Djuma and Arathusa. got a few more hyena that I've come closer to. Wow, look at this. So a great little bit of interaction there. And speaking of interaction with hyena and between hyena, Brenda noticed on the Juma waterhole cam that there was some hyena whooping earlier. And well done, Brenda. We also heard some, possibly the same audio that you would have heard. And they let off their whooping howl whoop, in order to communicate with other hyena. Usually it will be for a relatively mild and peaceful update, if that makes any sense. They let off a loud cackling laugh when they get excited and hysterical, so potentially around any kills or areas of high intensity. But their whooping howl is probably in all likelihood used to communicate with other hyena clans as well as clan members from this very clan, trying to establish where they are, what their news is. So well done, Brenda, for picking up that audio. Listening can be one of our most important tools in terms of trying to establish what has gone on over the dark hours when we're asleep and a lot of these animals are out and about. And by listening to them, it can help us find them and get an idea of what they're up to. Oh, this is great. They all appear to be coming back now. And maybe they'll call out this little cub. Now, as you can see, there's a few teeth being exposed and a few little nibbles of one another, but it's a combination of play and also maintaining or trying to establish dominance within this very complex hierarchy. With hyena, the females will be the highest ranking members of the clan, so the lowest ranking female will still be ranked higher than the highest ranking male. Oh, take a closer look there, Brian. The larger two that you can see, they are probably around 6 or 7 months of age now. Whereas that and we have got confirmation that one of our viewers, Amanda, was one of those people who had heard all the negative publicity around hyena, fall in love with them. So I'm happy to hear that, Amanda. I am certainly all for hyena. Africa would not be nearly as cool as it is without them. And the ecosystem in certain instances. And their ability to travel huge distances and be able to clean up carcasses, ensuring that there's no wastage with their bone-crushing jaws. I guess something we could also thank them for is, if there were no hyena in this area, the leopard of this area would be far less inclined to spend time up trees and hoist their kills into trees. So if you like looking at leopard and trees, I guess you could also thank the hyena for being around, because if they weren't, there'd be a lot less inclination for leopard to have to hoist their kills away from these hyena. Oh, listen to that. One of them got really excited, and that was that high-intensity laughing cackle that I said they will let off when they do get excited. Sadly, it all happened behind bush, so I couldn't see exactly what happened. But there certainly is a lot of action here this morning. And McManus would like to know if the males are always here within the clan, or will they only come into the clan for breeding when the females are in season. And that's not the case, McManus. There'll always be male hyena within the clan, and they will just have to wait until mating opportunities to arise. But they certainly will be here. There's a lot of rough and tumble going on, but it's difficult to know where to film with all this action. But I think Brian's found the right place. That cub is so excited to be greeted by what looks to be a sub-adult hyena. You can tell by its perfect face and ears, dark spots, that it's still fairly young. And the little cub was twitching in excitement. You can see how the hyena's pointing its mouth almost directly down to the ground as it's letting off the soft vocalization. And they will do the same thing. Oh, there it is again. They will perform the same pose when also letting out their loud whooping call. What has it heard? Possibly another hyena could be approaching. Something got off its attention, minus I can't see anything back there. Well, one of the other youngsters is running around wildly, so Brian's trying to get you across there, but it's sadly behind some quite thick bush. But it's really one of the most action-packed scenes I've ever witnessed here at the Hyena Den. So if this is your first time joining us, you are being spoilt by a high-intensity sighting here. It's not like this every morning, and there's often not this many hyena here. So the fact that there are is probably why they're all getting so excited. I'm certainly happy I'm not involved in this game of rough and tumble. They've got incredibly powerful jaws, but don't worry, it is playful. Even though that little cub may sound a little bit distressed. If anything too serious happened, their mothers would return and chase away these youngsters. It's both two youngsters that appeared to be playing around with that small cub. Well, I'm happy to hear that Amy is watching this morning, because she has reminded me to tell you something very important, and that is, when will the young charcoal hyena that we've seen only a few weeks old start developing its spots and looking like a more regular hyena? From anywhere around 3 months of age, Amy, you can notice their coat beginning to lighten and become more grey or light in color. And from about 4 months, you'll notice spots developing. So those are the kind of rough ages that you will work off, but it will depend on the individual and how successful both it has been and its mother has been in feeding it. So we can look forward to, in the next month or two, watching this young hyena transform into a more regular looking hyena like the ones we haven't seen now. And isn't it wonderful to see them playing about like this? A combination of tails up in the air and then also tails between the leg, depending on the exact scenario it's got into. Oh, that doesn't look like fun, but it is hyenas having fun. So don't worry. Kevin and Kathy are both interested to know where all of the vocalization's coming from, and it's mainly from the two individuals that are greeting the very young cub in the burrow. And it's the one that's holding its head down vertically that's doing the majority of these vocalizations. I think the mother is the one off to the left, but she has decided to not nurse her cub yet, but I could be wrong. Maybe the mother is yet to return. The wonderful thing about this live interactive safari is it's you, the viewers, that often points out some interesting things that I am either too excited to talk about and may have overlooked. And one of these things that I have overlooked this morning, and thankfully Remay has pointed it out, is the urine. You can see that wet patch coming down from the entrance of the burrow. And thanks, Remay. Remay would like to know if it is indeed urine, and it certainly is. Hyenas will often urinate in set spots in and around a den, and I'm guessing some of the hyena have come back here and used this very same spot, almost like an information hotspot. Oh, well, you may have seen a blur of baby hyena flying past there, and another one. There we go. This is too good. And I think it could be coming back for another one. This certainly has been the most action-packed hyena sighting I've ever had with this clan. And I'm loving every second of it. That little squeal you can hear is from the little cub. It's getting so excited. It's the one letting off that squeal. Crazy. Maybe it's hungry. Well, what caused it to let off that high-pitched squeal?
Another hyena coming from the back.
Oh, wonderful. Brian spotted another hyena coming off from the distance. Termite mound now within which is the burrow and the cub. Here's the mom. Here she is. Look at this. This is awesome. How did the little cub know that she was close? Or maybe she was just waiting nearby. But as soon as that cub let off her calls, there's still one or two quite close to the vehicle. Hey, you cannot chew on the tire. Just have to chase one away from the tire there. This one over here. You're being naughty. Isn't this great? Now, if they do come too close to the vehicle, I may tap the vehicle. We don't want them to become too used to us. Hey. Because there does need to be a line that we draw in the sand at some point in terms of how habituated they get. And when they start chewing on the tires of the vehicle, that is a line that we will not accept. Now, where is the mother gone? She's over to our left, so we're going to just keep an eye on her, but it'll be difficult for Brian to swivel all the way around there, because in the next second she could move back, but he's going for it. Even though it's early in the morning, Brian is warmed up. And this is the mother that's now going to, in all likelihood, head back to wouldn't it be wonderful? And like I said, even though we spend quite a lot of time with this clan, we don't know all the individual hyena that make it up. It's very hard to tell them apart, and therefore there are some things that are simply unknown to us. Let's watch closely here. Watch closely. What she often does is reverse into the burrow to therefore block any potential threats from the front with her sharp end. Thinking back to when we heard the little cub calling a few minutes before its mother arrived, and possibly it could have heard an audio or a vocalization from its mother that was inaudible to our ears as the mother was approaching. So that is animals can make this morning. When they came running past our vehicle a few seconds ago, we heard that more high-pitched cackle or laugh. Hence one of their names, the laughing hyena. So they are the spotted hyena and or the laughing hyena. And this is from the more high-pitched, excited vocalization that we hear. Now, as we saw the mother return to the den this morning, a lot of you may have been wondering how long did it leave the cub away for? And Judy has asked, will hyena also leave their cubs for several days, like a leopard would? Usually in my experience, in order to nurse their young. But with most predators, it's important to understand that because it is difficult for them to acquire their meals, it's more important for an adult to spend time away from its young, ensuring that it gets the next meal for the two of them, essentially, by the adult eating It will therefore get nutrition which it can make milk with, and therefore nurse its young. So to rush back to the den with an empty belly and then no milk for the youngster wouldn't make sense. You can hear a low rumbling like that of almost an outboard boat engine. And it's interesting to hear that here at the den. It's one audio that I've yet to hear at this den. And it's often more attributed to kills. Let's see if it does it again. There we go. You may have just heard it there. And that's interesting audio to hear here. You don't often hear that specific noise. And the last time I did hear that audio was around a kill that a hyena had stumbled upon. Again, wouldn't it be wonderful to know exactly what they're saying to one another? But there certainly is a heightened tension in the air. There's no longer the playfulness that we noticed earlier. Although, as I said, that one youngster came barreling out of the den, and who knows what it's going to do next. There certainly does seem to be a lot more of a focused and serious nature around this den site. As before, there was certainly a lot of play. Now things seem to be calming down. I'm just going to try and creep forward a meter or two. The position that I can see the adult hyena lying in. We've got a great question through regarding hyena cubs and their nursing. And Bree would like to know whether males and females will nurse at the same time. Now, Bree would have obviously picked up on the fact that the females are generally always more dominant than the males. And if a female and male are born to the same litter, the female would certainly overpower and outcompete the smaller and less aggressive male, possibly even killing the male, but not necessarily, but possibly killing the male before we ever get a chance to see it. And that's what could have happened in this scenario. There's only one cub that we can see in this litter, and there's various different theories on the matter, but it is important to know that they do commit siblicide, so they will potentially kill off their brothers or sisters to eliminate competition and therefore ensure that they get the best upbringing possible. And one of the theories is that if two females are born into the same litter, there would be more likely siblicide because there's more direct competition. Whereas if there's a male and a female, the female will kind of know that the male's not going to pose much of a threat to her and therefore may tolerate him. But if there was a male and a female here, Bree, the female certainly would be getting into pole position and enjoying the best nursing opportunities. I'm just going to take one or two snaps of this. This is too good not to document to it and almost pay respect to it. Getting off these low murmurs. You could see the mother there. I've lurched forward, but then decided against snapping out at this other hyena that's coming possibly a little bit too close to her cub. Wow, I certainly didn't expect that. You can She's jammed herself into the den, protecting her cub. And it's the cub that we can hear letting off that more of a squeal-like audio. And I guess she could be sitting on it. That was really interesting, and I'd love to be able to tell you exactly what happened there and why. But I did mention the female, the adult, the mother of the cub, certainly did appear to eventually end up having a proper chew on. And again, I guess, like any protective mother, she just felt that her cub was not safe and needed to teach that other hyena a bit of a lesson. Well, I think we got some great views of this little cub nursing. But we'd now like to go and have a look at the rest of the clan who are out in the morning sunshine. Although, no, we've got such a good angle here, we might need to hang around for a few more minutes. Well, I've said it once or twice already before this morning, but this has been an incredible sighting at the hyena den. I'm sure many of you who have followed the show for months on end now are probably in agreement with me. And I'm so happy to be able to be sharing this with you live. A lot of you may be all around the world in different time zones, different climates, but we're all here together watching this incredible interaction. I'm told that a lot of you are agreeing with me, so I'm happy I'm not here alone. Looking back at Brian, he's got a massive smile that I can see through his buff, and his eyes are all crinkled up in enjoyment. And well done to Brian for capturing all this high-paced action that we've been witnessing here. It really is... Oh, this is the same one that caused trouble earlier. And you can see how it's sniffing intently on this information hotspot, the urine. And now it too is leaving its own message behind. You see how it kind of cocked its leg up there? Well, there's a few more that have just come up, and we'll be able to at least show you some of them, but they are again so close to us that the bonnet of the vehicle is proving a bit of a problem. It's thankfully moving closer towards us, and we're not going to have to reposition. This is absolutely crazy. That's the little cub we can hear. And the mother is just not happy with these other hyena coming up too close to it. But I guess the rest of the clan are just so inquisitive that they can't resist coming to take a closer look. I guess, yes, there is a small chance that that could happen. And that's why we can see this mother being so protective over her cub. If she didn't feel that her cub was in danger at all, she wouldn't be lashing out at these other individuals. So there certainly seems to be some kind of a problem that she has with the rest of the clan coming too close to them, but what exactly it is, it's difficult to tell. If the clan wanted to kill this young cub, they could have. The mother has been away from the clan, leaving the cub here, and the cub has been poking its head out on numerous occasions where the other hyena could have killed it. So I don't necessarily think that's the case. What has she heard? What can she sense? But within this clan, there will be one female who is higher ranking than any of the others. And it's difficult for us to tell which one it is. It would in all likelihood be the female who has the oldest cub within this clan, but it's difficult to be sure of that because depending on the rotation, it will typically be the alpha female or the most dominant female that will mate first and have young, and then potentially tolerates beta and gamma and delta females to also have cubs within the clans. It's not only the privilege of the alpha female and alpha male, but there will be some kind of a pecking order in that. And then when young queens born into the alpha scenario grow up, they too will, I guess, potentially compete between mothers and other sisters from different generations for this dominance. So that could be what got a whole lot of hyena running back towards the dam. They all disappeared a little bit of a way off. And who knows why or what's going on. You can see the mother looking off here very intently to the east. Another two hyena playing around in front of us. Quite aggressively. And who knows, possibly Matt in Texas would like to know whether the females will also understand that and bear witness to the most successful male in the clan as he does establish his dominance over the weeks and months. But it's an ongoing process, and like any society, human or animal, rulers will only last for so long and then be overthrown. And when and how long they may be a ruler for will depend on many, many variables. But it is important to know that there will be shifts in power, and dominance can only be had by certain animals for certain periods of time before they become too old and upcoming strength is too powerful for them to subdue. Now, speaking of shifts in power and dominance and the clan splitting, Lewis in Buffalo would like to know, is there any chance if this female continues acting like this, kind of boycotting the rest of the clan coming up to her cub, could she be ostracized from the clan? And I guess, yes, she possibly could. This is very, very interesting behavior, though, and very difficult for me to read into. Textbooks may tell you a lot about animals, but it's important to understand that each clan and each family of animals will have different problems and different paths and decisions that can be made along the way in terms of who's dominant, in terms of who gets kicked out. I guess what we're going to have to do is just keep coming back here, keeping an eye on them and trying our best to work out what this morning's behavior has been all about and what will happen with this clan going forward. Well, we've got another very interesting comment and observation. This one's from Georgianne in Illinois. And Georgianne noticed a very interesting comment and observation. This one's from Georgianne in Illinois. And Georgianne noticed when two of the smaller looking sub-adults managed to chase her off towards the vehicle. And would they potentially be more higher ranking than her? Yes, they certainly could be. They could be up-and-coming queens of this clan that have just yet to come of age but are born into the right hierarchy line. Their mother could have been very successful and therefore putting them into a very high-ranking position from birth. Or it could simply have been that there was two of them teaming up on the one of her. So hard to say, but I do agree with you, Georgianne. Her behavior did appear to be submissive towards them. Maybe that's why she is feeling a little bit uneasy and unsure for her cub's well-being, because she knows maybe that she is not quite as high-ranking as she would like to be. Although now she seems completely calm and in control. And maybe simply us as humans don't know enough about their vocalizations and about their body language to be able to read into exactly what all of this means, and it may have looked far worse to us than it actually was to the hyena. And that's something that we could relate in parks, playing with one another, and think that they are playing too roughly with one another and almost want to intervene. But they're having a jolly good time and don't need our assistance or intervention. So that's a kind of example that we can all relate to. Sometimes animals are just a little bit tougher than us, and when they are playing around, the rough and tumble can possibly appear more serious than it is. Whew. Well, I feel like finally we can all take a breath again and things have eventually calmed down here. It has been an incredible sighting. Poor old Brian's been swiveling that camera around from side to side trying to show you all the action, and I think he's done a great job on it, and I'm so happy to have all of you on board with us. This has been a sighting, possibly the best hyena sighting I've ever had in my life at a den. The amounts of different interaction we saw between getting insight into their lives, even though I don't know too much about it, sadly, and can't tell you exactly why and what they were doing this all for. It's been incredible to view, and it'll be incredible footage to look back on and remember as we continue to watch this clan develop and watch this young cub grow and try and establish what is going to happen next and who is exactly in charge of this clan. By us being here today, we've certainly learnt a lot more about this clan than we would have had we had not been here, and we need to build on this information from the different sightings we have over the days and weeks and months that we spent here at Djuma. And then we will eventually, hopefully, get a better idea of exactly what's at the burrow here. There's some more lying out in front of us. A few others I see have disappeared off away from the burrows. And it's not uncommon for the adults to leave the vicinity, the immediate vicinity of the den, as they'll be less pestered by their cubs, who we will continually want to nurse if they stay here. So mother, and the sunlight's glistening perfectly into she is. But it would be wonderful if and I'm told Betty from Pennsylvania also noticed that scar on her back a little bit earlier. Now, you may be wondering where all the termites are from this termite mound. I know Kevin from Boston is certainly wondering that, and he would like to know if hyena will use active termite mounds for their den sites. And no, Kevin, they won't. It wouldn't make sense for either the hyena nor the termite. The termites need to be able to regulate the inflow of air and outflow of air to maintain a warm temperature within their burrow, and these massive holes made by animals like hyena, porcupine and aardvark would prevent the termites from maintaining a warm and humid climate in which they need to farm fungus on their feces, which they further break down, and then can better process the cellulose and lignin, which is very difficult to digest, and that's why they have to farm a fungus on their own little pellets of droppings that they will then re-feed on. So whenever you do see big holes, even if it's dwarf mongooses burrowing into termite mounds, it is an indicator that it is no longer active. It's not necessarily the hyena or other animals that dig into the burrows that cause the termites to leave. It could simply be that the queen of the termite mound may die, and once she dies, possibly other queens could take over the termite area from her, or all of them could move off. And you do get these large monuments left by termites for other animals to live in. So they do provide very important homes for the other animals. Usually it's not necessarily the hyena that chased them away. They're just using old and abandoned termite mounds. Her cub against these other clan members. Move, because then her cub would be orphaned and probably not raised by other members of the clan. So it may happen, and I know one. And all of the mothers and clan members took off after these wild dogs, chasing them away from here. So they will certainly defend their young, but to the point of death. Well, it looks like she has decided to move off. And I'm told a lot of you have noticed her very big belly and are wondering whether she could still be pregnant or if she simply had a good meal. Or if it's just the signs of pregnancy still showing, post-pregnancy. Makes sense for her to be able to give birth weeks after giving birth to an initial cub, and it's usually going to be the embryo for, or within the stomach for that long. So I'm getting myself confused here, but basically it's, if you think of humans and most other animals, you give birth to have moved off.
Welcome back, everyone. While I've been tracking in the bush, I just north, and then they chased a whole bunch of buffalo, and I was walking around trying to figure which way they did. Copy, thanks, Sean. So they've been found, so we're on our way there. But because I've been walking in the my finger. There we go, crawling there. It's a little pepper tick. And now, as I slowed down, I noticed lots of branches. Going a little bit quicker than what we normally would, just so we can get there. So you can start getting your spotting eyes ready. It should be coming up on the left somewhere here shortly. So quite interesting that Nkuhumas don't come to this part of the world that often. They generally stick around Buffels Hook, Djuma and Torchwood and go up into the Manuleti and sometimes even into the Kruger National Park. So it is quite exciting, and I think this could be a follow-up. Oh, next one. This could be following up on the fact that we saw them definitely smelling Styx Pride scent marks. Yesterday on the Sunrise Safari. So maybe they possibly sort of not only on the hunt, but on the hunt for other lions to try push them out of their home range, because the Styx Pride have been pushing further and further into what is traditional Nkuhuma home range. So we're nearly there now. Well, hold on, William, big bump. Hello, big bump. Good morning, Maggie, who's contacting us via the Twitter sphere. Maggie said she watched the highlights reel from yesterday's safaris, and she saw a highlight of Junior, the young male lion there, attempting to mate with one of the adult females, and she'd like to know, will he get kicked out for such naughty behavior? Well, Maggie, he will. Eventually, but not by the females. The females will sometimes show aggression to their youngsters trying to mate with them, but normally it will be the dominant males. And over the last couple of times we've seen the Nkuhuma Pride, the dominant male, when the Matimba males are around, Junior makes himself quite scarce. So I think it's very soon that he's going to be completely removed from the pride in the next 6 to 7 months. And one of the reasons the males do chase off these guys is to ensure a little bit of genetic diversity, to try stop inbreeding amongst the pride. So he will definitely be chased off for this type of behavior. Sorry guys, standing by. Bobby, thank you very much. Sorry guys, I'm just listening to the radio. I can see Junior through the quarries here. How's it, Sean? Thanks very much, buddy. What's up? So here we go, guys. We've finally caught up with the Nkuma Pride. They have taken us on a wild goose chase this morning. We had their tracks chasing those buffalo probably about 2.5 kilometers from here. And they just basically did a complete U-turn. And it's not often that we see them on the Arethusa. They're normally further to the north. I think it's definitely in relation to the fact that the sticks have been around so much, and in what is traditionally sort of Nkahuma pride country. And very interesting stuff that's happening with the lion dynamics at the moment. The fact that the sticks pride, which broke into a couple of different units of 2, is now formed back into a unit of 4 adults together the last time we saw them. One has to wonder whether it's because they probably feel a little bit of pressure from a pride like the Nkahumas that is at the moment 8 strong, but with 5 adult lionesses. And with the sticks, even though there are 7, 3 of them are under 3 months old, so not much use in a territorial battle. They're definitely still looking quite alert. Like they've heard something. I'm hoping they haven't finished all their movement for the morning. And Junior is, as always, taking up the rear and having a good snooze in this quarry thicket to the left of us here. Good morning, Sean from London. Now, Sean, we're experiencing what will probably be considered a good day in London here with the cloud cover. Hopefully you're having a sunny summer for once. Sean would like to know, how does a young male lion or leopard learn how to mate when there's no older male to learn from? Sean, like a lot of the lion's other skills, hunting skills and whatnot, mating is instinctive, so there's no need to learn how to mate. They have the sort of genetic imprinted knowledge that they will know exactly what to do when the time comes. So there's no need to watch and learn. It is an instinctive behavior. And the same goes with leopards and other predators. So now we can have a look at the lioness up. I can't see any sign of blood around their neck, and they definitely don't look like they're fed. So from a viewing point of view, that's quite positive that they might still hunt again, either on the sunrise safari or on the sunset safari. And we've watched 4 failed attempts. So hopefully, as I said, lions generally only catch something 1.2 to 1.7 times out of 10. We've seen 4 now, so our odds are getting better and better the more time we spend with the Nkuhumas. There's one of the sub-adult females moving her way towards the rest of the pride. Don't know if you guys can hear, there's a great go-away bird with great enunciation. You can hear it almost actually sounds like it's definitely saying, "Go away." Morning, Carol from the Big Apple. Carol would like to know, when do we know of the Nkuhumas last having a meal? Let me work this out. It would probably be 3 nights ago. So we were with them yesterday for the whole day, and the day before for the whole day. So three nights ago, when Scott found them in the morning, they had killed something small. They didn't look like they'd eaten much. But on Junior's face and on some of the lioness's face, you could see there was some blood around. So they had eaten something probably quite small, like an impala or a young kudu, which would probably have given them just enough to keep going, but obviously not ideal. And while we were with them yesterday, they made 2 attempts to hunt buffalo, both very unsuccessful. And then they definitely, from the tracks we were following earlier this morning, made another unsuccessful attempt to hunt buffalo. So in theory, that's 5 hunts we know of. So definitely the odds are getting better that we're actually going to see them catch something as long as they stay within our Travis area.
Welcome back, everyone. And it's difficult to see very clearly, but these impala, as Lion termed lion snacks, are very, very cold, and that's what I was hoping to show you there. Very fluffy coats that they've extended in order to make sure that they are nice and warm, and they've got a nice warm extra layer of insulation to keep warm on this very cold morning. And also to show you what Bent presumes the Nkuhuma pride may have snacked on their last meal, a small little prey item. It's an exceptionally cold morning, so I feel sorry for Brent and Vim who raced across to find those in Kahuma lion for you, so they must be bitterly cold. Anyway, we're not going to keep you with us too long. We just thought we'd show you what the lion may have. We'll see you later and enjoy the big upcoming male from the Nkuma Pride, Junior.
Another black hole.
Welcome back, everyone. So I know you went off to see some impala or lion snacks with Scott. So I've just been chatting to Sean, and he's been giving me the lowdown on what's been happening in the western sections. And that one young Styx male lion that got beaten up quite badly by the Matimba males has been found this morning to the south of Arathusa, and he still looks quite beaten up, but he is alive and looks like he's on his road to recovery. It's amazing how resilient these animals are to injuries, and injuries that we think would be the end of an animal. You suddenly see these animals recover and come back to almost full health. So there's a nice little update on the one young Styx male, and also the Salala Breakaway Pride or Mungen Pride are also to the south, and they just finished eating a buffalo. So they are all very fat and happy and fast asleep just to the south of Arathusa. So far, no updates on any leopards in the area, but as the morning progresses, if we do hear anything, I will keep you in the loop. John would like to know why are the Matimba males spending more time with the Styx lionesses, because possibly one of them is in season, and not spending any time with the Nkuhumas because none are in season. John, quite interestingly, yes, more definitely, the male lions were seen mating with one of the older Styx lionesses last week in a property to the east of us. So that is probably the reason that those lions are still hanging around with the Styx. Although at the moment, as far as I know, they have left the Styx, and they are way up in the north of Buffalo's Hook, near the Manyaleti boundary, being very vocal and patrolling territory. So they are no longer with either pride. They are on just the two of them on their own, on the march, roaring, probably scent marking, trying to make sure other male lions don't decide to come into their home range. But if one of these Nkahuma lionesses were to come into estrus, they would definitely be all around and following and harassing that female. Quite often, when mating, the female will leave the pride and stay with the male for a few days while they mate. So if we suddenly see the one lioness down, it's a possibility that she is off mating with a male. Just going to try reposition a little bit, Vim. What do you think, a little bit further forward?
Yeah, maybe we can go where Sean was for.
Yeah. We're going to try and move to where Sean was parked because he's left. Just try. Maybe let's have a quick look at Junior before then. How's that? Good morning, Joe on Twitter. Joe has made a very valid point that all dogs seem to have a pack leader, a more dominant individual, and you'd like to know whether lion prides also have this similar trait. From what I've seen, Joe, sometimes that is the case, and more with hunting. There will be a female who will quite often start the hunts, normally one of the older, more experienced females. But in terms of actual dominance and stuff, a lot of that you can only determine when they're around a kill, when they're fighting over food. But I wouldn't say there's any specific leader out of the lionesses. There definitely is during the hunting, but not as dominant as you would see sort of in a dog pack, where one male dog or even a female dog will physically and quite often growl, snarl, and dominate the other animal. Where those lions, as you can see, they're all quite, when they're not eating, quite friendly, and they'll lie on top of each other, lick each other. There obviously, I'm sure there is some form of dominance, but I don't think it's nearly as intense as, say, a pack of domestic dogs. Or in hyenas, where there's very, very, very visible dominance between different individuals in the clan. So let's maneuver around, try to see if we can go have a look at that other lazy lump of lions. Are we behind us there, Liam?
Yeah.
Junior is watching our tyres quite intently, just off to my right there. I always find it very funny that lions, especially when they're a little bit younger than our Junior, it's sort of that 6 month to sort of a year phase. And when you drive past them, you watch them all go as the tyres go round and round near them. Sitting here with the Nkuhuma Pride. Unfortunately, they are still very much flat cats. I'm going to give it another 5 or 10 minutes to see if they get moving. It is a nice, cool morning, so it's always a possibility. And you never know what's going to happen. You never know whether a kudu might walk in here or a buffalo and change these cats from completely flat to highly active. So, but at the moment, they are sleeping quite sweetly. This lioness here looks very comfortable close to us. And it's quite nice from where we are sitting here that we can actually have a quite nice look at her face. Good morning, Lola, from Norwalk. Lola's asked, when do subadults become adults, so to speak, and do subadults help on the hunt? At the moment, I'd say these guys are not really helping that much on the hunt, these two subadults. On a bigger animal like a buffalo or something that they've got sort of stationary, they will possibly attempt to get involved, but I don't think they would be too useful at the moment. But generally, an adult lion is probably somewhere between 2 to 3 years. They will sort of be considered adults. Generally only have their first litter of cubs at around 4 years old. So I think probably 4, and that first litter of cubs is sort of moving beyond from sub-adulthood to adulthood. But they are very much sleepy kitties at the moment. It's been so wonderful that we've been able to spend so much time with Nkuhuma Pride over the last while. So we've got some questions about Junior. Obviously, quite a lot of chat about Junior at the moment because he is getting to that age where he is going to be pushed out of the Pride. So Angie from Ohio would like to know, what is to stop the Pride following Junior or when he calls to them? Well, generally what will happen, Angie, is that the males will try to chase him far enough away from the Pride. And the females are not going to leave their home range to follow a young male because the next home range along there's a possibility they might come into contact with another pride of females, and they would not want to go fighting for the sake of a young male lion like Junior, who's probably not the best breeding prospect, firstly because he is related to them, and secondly because he isn't dominant over a territory. So they probably wouldn't follow him. If he was still within his natal territory, like he is at the moment, then they probably would, or he would probably go towards them rather than the other way around. And that would only be while the dominant males aren't around. But fortunately for Junior, over the last while, the Styx lionesses have been in estrus, so he's had sort of a good time of it, spending quite a substantial amount of time with his natal pride. But unfortunately for Junior, I think that time is very rapidly coming to an end. Good morning, Carol from the Big Apple, New York. Carol would like to know a little bit more about TB in lions. How do they get them? How do they get it? Is it fatal? So it's thought that, or most likely that they contract the bovine TB, which mutates into a feline form of TB from the buffalo in the area. It can be fatal, but it isn't always fatal. What happens is, if you've been watching for a while, you'll see some of those two young subadults have those sort of growths on their elbows, and that is the TB manifesting itself. And since I've been here, those growths seem to have actually decreased. So it's possible that the lions have developed some antibodies towards them, and they haven't been looking in bad shape at all. They've been looking in quite good condition, even though even now they haven't eaten in a few days. It still looks like they are in reasonably good condition. They're not looking particularly skinny or showing any particular real weaknesses. And it's quite interesting. And I mean, there's ongoing studies on all of this, and it is a very possible thing that with a lot of diseases, when they first make the species jump, it affects the species quite badly. So, for example, the common cold or flu, when that first made the jump from birds to humans, it was incredibly fatal to people. But now moving along, this is just my personal observations in the last sort of 10 or so years in the Lowveld, that I've seen TB affecting lions less, and it is possible that the lions are slowly building natural immunities, like most animals do to diseases. It's when they first make that sort of the disease jumps from species that you have really, really visible harsh effects. And with the TB, if an animal has got a birth defect or whatnot, then possibly it has a far greater effect than in a healthy animal. Even if a healthy animal does have TB, it might really come into play sort of when they're a bit older, sort of over 10 years old. The effects might shorten their life by a year or two, But just in my personal observations and what I've been reading, it seems like the lion populations are getting healthier again. Obviously, there are certain areas where the TB is worse, and I know just north of Hoedspruit, there's a farm there that has got some lions that look particularly unhealthy and all riddled with TB. But also, if it goes a lot if you look at sort of the soil types and the bush around there. It's wonderful bush, don't get me wrong, and all bush is wonderful, but it's not the greatest bush. It's on very quartzy soils, lots of rock, stones, so not a lot of grass, so you don't have a lot of sort of prey species. So those are the lions that wouldn't be able to compete for the best territories. So they are possibly a bit weaker, possibly have something that might be wrong with them, not as big, not as aggressive. So those lions on the peripheries of the sort of really good areas like this is a really great area for lions. So there's a lot of competition between the lions. So those animals that are weaker and whatnot are sort of weeded out quite quickly. Whereas in an area where you have a very low density of lions, you might find some of that stuff manifesting itself in a bit more visible and a worse way, because those lions aren't the sort of peak physical specimens that these guys are. So, Carol, I hope that helps explain a little bit more about TB. Obviously, we can go into a lot more depth about it, and I'm sure we will at another stage. But with these lions being so flat, I think we're going to meander on shortly and see what we can find. And either Scott or myself will definitely try follow up on these guys on the sunset safari. But I think they've sort of found their spot for the day, barring the fact that some unfortunate animal might stumble into them in these thickets on the edge of the drainage line. Yeah, while we maneuver our way out of these kitty cats, we're going to cross to Scotty and see what mischief he's managed to find.
Welcome back, and no surprises, the Nkahuma Pride are asleep. They do spend the majority of time that we film them asleep, but we are going to get lucky one of these days and capture them successfully hunting. I know Brent had a lot of opportunities yesterday where they were attempting to stalk various prey, but came out second best. But it's always a great reminder for us to realize how difficult it is for predators to actually catch their prey. So we mustn't lose track of that. The prey animals have adapted and evolved to avoid being eaten, and they do a very good job of it most of the time.